There's a really good reason that home buyers want to close on December 30th. This is Ron Weiss-Sikarski, your host for Black Hole of Real Estate. And December 30th, you're wondering what's significant about that date. Why not the 31st? Why not January 1st? Does it even matter? Well, if you're thinking about paying taxes and you'd like to pay less, you might want to really investigate December the 30th or some date like that. And so here's why. If you close before the end of the year and you qualify for the homestead exemption in Florida because you're buying a primary residence, then you can apply for the homestead exemption before the end of March and get it for that year. Otherwise, if you close after January 1st, you've got to wait till the next year, so 12 extra months. So you could pay a little extra tax along the way because you couldn't file in time. And the qualifying date is December 31st closings or before to qualify for the next year's exemption. And you think, well, why is December 30th like the most critical important date? Like, geez, I don't know. Has there ever been a weather situation or a banking situation or just a meltdown of the internet? I mean, these things happen, right? So December 31st is the getaway day for most lenders and most title companies. And if you're depending on closing that day and anything goes wrong whatsoever, you know what they're going to tell you? You know what? We're just going to go ahead and close this after the first one. We reopen, and there goes your exemption. So for that reason alone, I would want a buffer of a day or two, if it's possible, to make that closing. I don't know that I want to be moving on New Year's Eve, and most people could close and not move that day. But what if you got a simultaneous closing? Maybe you're selling your house, and it closes the morning of the 31st, and it takes a little bit of time for the money to hit the account and then subsequently be wired to the next closing, because maybe they're not at the same place. And maybe some of those proceeds are important to help the other loan close. You could get in a situation where it's 3, 4 o'clock and maybe the Fed is slowed down or shut down or just, anything can happen. But what if your money doesn't make it by the end of the day? Well, you sold your home in the morning. Good job. But now you can't get into the other one because even if you sign your papers, the money doesn't show up. And the money is an important part of the closing, and you may not get your keys. And if it doesn't close the day and you don't get your keys and your exemption, you could be like, well, what just happened here? So now, again, you don't have to do it this way, but wouldn't it make sense for people to target December the 30th as the day to close their sale, to make sure that it happens, to get the homestead exemption, to make sure it happens before the end of the month? Hey, maybe just in time for the new year. If you're moving really fast or you need a place for a party, maybe you can do that and have a housewarming and New Year's all at the same time. Maybe that's not the reason, but I think the homestead exemption is the number one reason. Now, if you're the seller, why would it also be important for you to look at December 30th? Well, if there's some capital gains involved and you like the way it looks in your taxes right now, it might make sense to also close it on this particular fiscal or financial year, however it is in your taxes, to make sure that whatever profit you're getting, maybe there's some tax reason where it makes a lot of sense to close before the end of the year. And for the very same reasons, if it carries over into the next year, you might not be able to write off if there's a loss on the property, or maybe you've had a really good year for gains and you just want to wash it all out to plan something different for next year. I think that makes sense too. Now, if it's the other side of things where you don't want the tax consequence to be on this year, then maybe you're cheering for it to go past the first of the year. Maybe it doesn't matter to the buyer. Then you got to position that closing and say, it would be better for me to close after the new year. Let's make it January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, something like that, which just puts you out there. If there are a significant amount of capital gains there, you might want to push it out where it's due and payable, 12, 14 months into the future. And so for some people, December 30th is really actually a bad date. You want it to carry into the next year. Now, when you are negotiating, the minute you find out somebody wants to close before the end of the year, and you both want to do that, perfect. See, now you got alignment with that. But if only one wants to and the other doesn't, now you've got yet another negotiation point. Now, maybe you would like to win on price. And say, really, for tax reasons, I got to close after the 1st. Great. If I let you close after the 1st, then I want to get my price on it because you're getting a pretty big tax reduction by waiting because you told me you did. You're going to save some money on taxes. How about passing some of that savings along to me, the buyer, to make sure that we both can win in this situation? And that's a real thing. It could cost a seller money to close just a couple days early by the end of a year as opposed to the next year. So if you're looking at buying and the closing date doesn't matter, and especially if it's an investment property or it's a second home, the closing date, you're not looking at that exemption. So that could be a really good negotiation strategy for you to let it go out into the next year. Now, if you find out you both want to close in the next year, that's probably neutral as well, or maybe it doesn't matter. The one place where a buyer can get some leverage in a negotiation is asking to close by the end of the year where they want to get the homestead exemption. And if they find out it's going to save them $500,000 as taxes, you know what? I'm not too worried about that exemption if I can get $5,000 off in the price, because that would be more money in my pocket than getting the exemption. And then we'll do it next year. So there's a lot of ways that you can move this back and forth, but you have to know what the strategy is up front. If both want to close early, get the exemption, great. If they want to close early and you want to close early, you could win on price and get the exemption. And wouldn't that be cool? If they want to close in the next year, well, you can still win on price. It'll be more than the exemption, most likely, that you may have just foresaw into the future, and that would be okay too. So when you're looking at closing dates and it's the end of the year, you're going to ask yourself, do I want to leave it till the last day if we both want to close there? I might move it up a day or two to make sure that there's nothing that goes on that could delay it. Or if there is a delay, let's say the 29th or the 30th, hey, we always got the 31st to finish it up first thing in the morning. So that's what I got for you. Closing date, December 30th. It's the one that I would shoot for if I want to make sure I get the homestead exemption. If you got questions about this, let us know in the comments section. Definitely hit the subscribe button. This is Ron Boy Sikarsky for the Black Hole of Real Estate.